Join me as I take on the challenge of respecting every single person I meet for an entire week. Let's see how it changes my perspective. Respect is one of those values that we all know is important, but sometimes we forget to practice it in our daily lives. We get caught up in our own thoughts, our own problems, and we fail to acknowledge the people around us. But what if we made a conscious effort to respect everyone we meet? Would it make a difference in how we interact with others? Would it lead to a more harmonious life? Think about it. When someone respects us, we feel valued, we feel seen, we feel heard. And it's amazing how a simple act of respect can completely flip the script on a conversation. But it's not always easy. We have to make a choice to respect others, even when they're different from us, even when we disagree with them. I believe that when we choose to respect others, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives, and new connections. And that's what I want to talk about today. How respecting everyone we meet can lead to a more fulfilling life. You know, it's easy to respect people who are like us, who share our values and our beliefs. But what about those who are different? What about those who challenge our way of thinking? That's where it gets tough. That's where our own biases and judgments start to creep in. We start to label people, to put them in boxes, to make assumptions about them. And once we do that, it's hard to respect them. We judge people based on how they look, how they talk, where they're from. We make assumptions about their background, their education, their socioeconomic status. And before we even get to know them, we've already formed an opinion. We've already decided whether or not they're worthy of our respect. But what if we took the time to get to know people? What if we took the time to listen to their stories, to learn about their experiences? Would we still judge them? Would we still make assumptions about them? Probably not. When we take the time to understand where someone is coming from, it's hard not to respect them. It's hard not to respect someone who has been through struggles, who has faced challenges, who has overcome obstacles. It's hard not to respect someone who is different from us, who has a different perspective, who has a different way of looking at the world. And yet, we still do it. We still judge, we still assume, we still label. And we miss out on the opportunity to connect with others, to learn from them, to grow from them. Respect is not just about treating others with kindness and consideration. It's about acknowledging their humanity, their worth, their value. It's about recognizing that everyone has a story to tell, everyone has a lesson to teach. When we respect others, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives, and new connections. We start to see the world in a different way. We start to see that everyone is fighting a hard battle, everyone is struggling with something. We start to see that everyone is worthy of respect, regardless of their background, their culture, their beliefs. We start to see that everyone has something to offer, something to teach us. And that's what it means to respect everyone. That's what it means to live a life of respect. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. When we choose to respect others, we choose to live a life of kindness, of compassion, of understanding. So let's talk about the different dimensions of respect. Let's talk about how culture, background, and experience shape how we perceive others. Let's talk about how our own biases and judgments affect our ability to respect others. Culture plays a huge role in how we perceive others. We're taught from a very young age what is acceptable, what is not. We're taught what is right, what is wrong, and we carry those beliefs with us for the rest of our lives. But what happens when we encounter someone from a different culture? What happens when we're faced with customs, traditions, and values that are different from our own? Do we judge them? Do we assume that our way is the right way? Or do we take the time to learn, to understand, to respect? Do we take the time to ask questions, to listen, to observe? Do we take the time to see the beauty in another culture, to see the value in another perspective? It's not always easy, but it's worth it. When we take the time to understand another culture, we start to see the world in a different way. We start to see that there's beauty in diversity, that there's value in difference. Background is another dimension of respect. Our background shapes who we are, what we believe, and what we value. But what happens when we encounter someone from a different background? What happens when we're faced with experiences, struggles, and challenges that are different from our own? Do we judge them? Do we assume that our way is the right way? Or do we take the time to learn, to understand, to respect? Do we take the time to ask questions, to listen, to observe? Do we take the time to see the humanity in another person, to see the struggles, the challenges, the triumphs? Or do we just see their background, their circumstances, their limitations? Experience is another dimension of respect. Our experiences shape who we are, what we believe, and what we value. But what happens when we encounter someone with a different experience? What happens when we're faced with perspectives, insights, and wisdom that are different from our own? Do we judge them? Do we assume that our way is the right way? Or do we take the time to learn, to understand, to respect? Do we take the time to ask questions, to listen, to observe? Do we take the time to see the value in another person's experience, to see the wisdom in their perspective? Or do we just see our own way, our own perspective, our own experience? I remember a story about a woman who was struggling to make ends meet. She was working multiple jobs, barely scraping by, and yet she still found time to volunteer at a local soup kitchen. She still found time to give back to her community. One day she met a man who was also struggling. He was homeless, he was hungry, and he was in need of a hot meal. And she looked at him with compassion, with kindness, with respect. She saw beyond his circumstances, beyond his struggles, and she saw his humanity. She saw that he was worthy of respect, worthy of dignity, worthy of kindness. And she treated him with the respect that he deserved. She treated him with the kindness that he needed. And in that moment, everything changed. In that moment, he felt seen, he felt heard, he felt valued. And he started to see himself in a different way. He started to see that he was worthy of respect, worthy of dignity, worthy of kindness. That's the power of respect. That's the impact that it can have on someone's life. When we choose to respect others, we choose to see their humanity, their worth, their value. We choose to treat them with kindness, with compassion, with understanding. And that's what I want to leave you with today. I want to leave you with the challenge to respect everyone you meet. I want to leave you with the challenge to see the humanity in others, to see their worth, their value. I want to leave you with the challenge to treat others with kindness, with compassion, with understanding. Because when we do, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives, and new connections. And if you're feeling inspired to share your own story about respect, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos on personal development and self-improvement. Thanks for watching.